just for committee information and overall information to you, substitute teacher handbook was updated, and basically the two updates in that are updates that were in the general handbook. Okay, so you already approved that. And then the substitute teachers rates as far as their daily rates, which was approved back in March. So those are the updates to the substitute teacher handbook, but I provided you with one just because it's probably been a couple of years since you've had a fresh copy, and there's some new board members. So there really isn't anything for you to approve because you've already pre-approved the changes through the employee handbook channel and then the wages. So that's in front of you. The second piece of the internal handbook is the new employee handbook. And Jane Egger is here to share those changes with you. She has put together a summary sheet that she's going to go over and just highlight some changes. And this will be one of Jane's key responsibilities as far as working with new teachers, and it's a strength that she's had for many, many years that we tapped into, and now it'll be taking on a broader district level position with that. So Jane's going to walk you through the changes in the new employee handbook.
Okay. And they have the handbook with them?
They should.
Okay. All right. First and foremost, the biggest change within the book itself is that there's the addition of the district mentor. Before we just had a building mentor and the principal working with new teachers, and now we will have 3 levels of support, which is the building mentor, the principal, and then the district mentor. And I will play the role of I'll be the district mentor, part of my position. So you can see that as the first proposed change. This booklet that I've worked through, it reorganizes it, like I had said. And if you go through there, instead of, in the past, there was always just an entire big, long checklist that the teachers and the building mentor would go through. And I've split it into 3 separate checklists so that you have the building mentor and mentee checklist. And this is mostly procedural things that they will do with them, day-to-day support, things within each individual building. Then you have the district mentor mentee checklist, and this is myself, like I had said, it includes the new teacher orientation, coaching, professional development responsibilities. If you look through that checklist, you can see that I have workshops planned out for them. I will observe them, coach them, work with them. And then you have the principal mentor checklist, and again, this will be with specific building procedures with the principal, and then of course their evaluation and their supervision through their principal. The biggest note to take from my perspective as the district mentor-mentee relationship is my relationship will not be evaluated with the new teachers. The principal will have that responsibility. Okay. If you look on my sheet that I spelled out for you, I did talk about the professional development plan workshops. So there will be 6 half-day workshops that the teachers are pulled out to work with me on different topics that are in that handbook. But beyond that, we're also going to give them support through the Wisconsin Quality Educator Initiative. That's at PI 34, that professional development plan that is now responsibility of all teachers that have become teachers after August 2004. And so these will all be voluntary after-school workshops. And during these, I'm going to address and provide guidance on every stage of the PDP plan cycle. This would be for any teacher, like I said, that was hired or became a teacher after August 2004, any educator that is just interested in possibly moving over to the PDP plan for license renewal, or any administrator who's also under the PDP plan. And then finally, the other big change is that in the past, when a teacher was assigned a building mentor, they would kind of work with them into their second year as needed. We're going to do away with that, and instead it will shift from building mentor support to individualized professional development focused on the individual needs of the mentee. So when the principals are supervising them and evaluating them, they'll kind of come up with something that's individualized for them, and then I'll work with them in year 2. So those are the big changes.
I think this label is correctly. I think it should be labeled mentoring handbook. Because really, there's nothing in it, it's just a generalized handbook. It's all about mentoring, right?
Yeah, that,
Because when you read that, you think, oh, this is what everybody's doing. You really should know, like, which door should I come in the morning? Where do I eat lunch? That kind of thing. It hasn't done that information. Well, it's really about mentoring only.
bigger picture it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming you must give them the employee handbook.
Yes.
In addition to this handbook.
They did that. Yes.
So one, I would recommend we have that word mentoring handbook in there or something.
Okay.
The only two things that jumped out at me just watching how it goes this first year and looking for feedback on is the first one was the first mentee observation by October 15th. Just wondering how that will fall in their schedule. It's still pretty new into the school year, so just feedback from people doing that of how that date falls, if that something has to be reassessed. I mean, I like it and it may work out, but that was just something that stood out to me as an indicator of it's still pretty early. And then the second thing was the 6 half-day workshops and having those teachers out in the classroom of how much time they're out. And then also they're out, like when they do the day-to-days, or when they do running records, those kinds of things. So just their time away from their students. Would be the two things I would want to see watched just as they go through the first year.
Most of the information in the handbook, just to give you a little bit more of some background, were pieces that, I mean, the whole reorganization of the handbook came as a result of the mentors from this school year and the new teachers coming at the end of the school year together and giving us feedback, and then did all process that because they wanted to separate the procedural from the instructional pieces. And certainly understand what you're saying about the new teachers, but the new teachers did really, because we have so many specific things we do in Waterford with regard to how we plan lessons and how we do things, what I call the Waterford way, that they really needed that time to kind of step out of their role so that they could learn some of those pieces, how to do the lesson planning the way that we do it here, you know, some of those kind of pieces. So they were really thankful for that time, and it's just a half day. So I understand what you're
But when you
saying.
add it up all together,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of time that we could be out or like, or, different curriculum things too. So just when we answer reflection on the year, just getting feedback to how they felt.
Right, and with the new salary schedule, the new teachers should not be out of the classroom. Typically, maybe there's an exception if they're an experienced teacher coming in, but they shouldn't be at all those other curriculum meetings that are occurring, unless it's a grade level meeting.
Right.
So, but certainly understand your concern and question. And then the other couple pieces is, the reason why Jane cannot be in an evaluation mode for the first year teachers is because in the law, PI 34, it specifically says that new teachers have to, in every district, have somebody that mentors them that is not in an evaluation mode. So that's a good tool. And then we also, which Jane has been serving in the past, the PDP coordinator working on those professional development plans for recertification for people, like Jane said, after 2004, she's been doing that for several years, so it's continuing in that role. But the amount of people over time are increasing that can be in that type of licensure. So probably 3/4 of our staff are in that licensure where they have to be, and that's principals as well as teachers. Any educator who's gotten a new license since 2004 in a different category or a new license as a whole has to choose to move PDP.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I found it extremely complete, very helpful.
You did that one thing, that was the 6 half days. That is the way that fix the classroom.
Right.
Would you like to see us consider downsizing?
Did you do 6 this past year?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and the feedback was that it was okay. I guess I would just continue to monitor it
So it's
and watch, what other things they're out for and those things. One of the things that make me feel the most effective is letting a few of their students growing there, so to monitor.
And if we had, we would do the same thing this year that, I did last year. If there's a reason why you really feel you need to be in your classroom, that's for any kind of meeting that you're out for or whatever. If you've been out for a couple days and then you have a meeting, then maybe you need to be, you know what I mean? So reiterating that would be we'll definitely be looking at that this year. And so we're gonna alternate
So I think that'd be nice. So I want to take information.
Yeah, certainly understand that.
Thanks, Jane.
You're welcome.
Where are we headed now?
Oh, where we're headed next? I want to
ELA,
go back
I
to ELA. Okay, great. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right. If I sit here, can everybody see? Okay. There are a couple handouts at your table that are just refreshers or reminders. That's more for the 4K piece. Wanted to make sure, and I didn't know for sure, Tom, if you had already received both of the handouts that are there, so I wanted to just make sure that we had them for today in case we need to go back to them. So the first piece I'd just like to really give you a little bit of information on is the English language arts. That's the new way we talk about language arts and reading and writing, and it really includes all of the areas, the English language, writing, reading, speaking and listening, and then the foundational reading skills. And the teachers did a lot of work last year, really re-looking at the curriculum and sifting through and seeing what are the key pieces that we need to ensure student growth in. And then at the end of the year, in those days that they had to come back for, to make up for the snow days, they spent a lot of time in their grade level groups. And I asked for feedback at the end of it. And the overwhelming piece that came up was with regard to resources. Okay? So after that, Ms. Bjork and I talked, and I looked into some possible resources in reading. There are some pretty powerhouses in the research and the reading area. And so as the teachers are being called back this week, we are sharing some materials that they will have the ability to pilot, and in working with Harcourt, Hope Mifflin, there will be pilot materials at every grade, one teacher at every grade in every building, and also the middle school. And we have the ability to pilot as little as for the trimester or up to the semester. Really offering the teachers to have more resources in their hand so that they spend less time looking for materials and are able to spend more time focusing their lessons on what they really need to. So today was the first day. It was a pretty hectic day for K2 teachers. Pam was there, and but they really dug into that, and I think it will provide some tools. So I just wanted to let you know that it came from the feedback from the teachers themselves, and then this week they're getting those materials. And so there's online materials, there's materials they can assign students, there's all kind of technology ways that they can use the materials, as well as there's paper books too. A key part that I think is critical is that there are a lot of little snippets for teaching the students, so they're not having to spend tons of time finding these resources. But to me, we need to really focus on the guided reading area, which means putting students in small groups and teaching them just what these students need, and then getting the next group and teaching what these students need. In kindergarten, you find that some students have not had a lot of skills prior to coming to school, and some students are reading already. So we need to be able to have flexible resources. So one of the good questions that one of the kindergarten teachers asked was, with these materials, if I have a kindergarten student who's reading at a second grade level, are there any materials I can use? And yes, there are ways for the teacher to have the full access to all of the materials, so that they can go down the hall and borrow something, or they have access right themselves to be able. And that's huge, because you have so many diverse learners, you need to have materials at their fingertips. So that's the key piece. And then we talked about really in that guided reading, those small groups, how we can really strengthen our explicit teaching of comprehension and accuracy and decoding and all those key things that students need to learn to be really strong readers. So I guess I'm sharing this with you to let you know what's going on in the district, and then I'll keep you abreast of what's going on, and there may be some need for some purchasing of materials at some point. So, already working prior to the materials coming in to say what is reasonable for us to be able to fathom as far as materials, because you don't want to offer materials to teachers that, we can't afford to put in their hands. So, and the teachers are really good about talking about how we use this wisely and all of that, because they're very, very, they do a really nice job of knowing that we have to be frugal.
So, we're touching maybe comment.
Yes,
We got to pilot the institute for the school board to learn. The school board is the one that was curriculum. Should have come to us and said, hey, we're thinking about piloting a new reading method. And Lord knows I've been sitting in the sport long enough to see reading methods come and go. Chris, you've been here too. They
I
come
don't
and
care
go
if
fast.
reading that.
this is not a new reading, maybe I didn't understand materials use.
Well,
But it's
I guess
not-
that's my question. I would rather have some focus on this before something was being piloted.
Okay.
For example, this is a public school system. A student in kindergarten is reading 8th grade level. That doesn't mean that the public school system is responsible for teaching at a 9th grade level. The public school system means that you bring everybody together and you learn at a pace. That doesn't mean we privately fund individual students.
Okay, I would say that perhaps a while ago, public school was to bring students together and to move them in a sequential way through a system.
Yeah.
But I would say with adequate yearly progress that came out with the last authorization of ESEA, that it's our responsibility, and if you look at how we use map testing, the goal is that every student is supposed to achieve a year of growth in a given year. So,
I understand, we've got a lot of politicians write a lot of things, and unfortunately, the state statutes say that the school board is in charge of what goes on in the schools. They can write whatever they want to and whatever they want to do. For example, right now you've got Luther Olson, who's the head of the school at the state level, saying that he never authorized Common Core, that the schools picked it up by themselves. Nobody on this board ever approved it, nobody in the state legislature approved it, but magically, everybody's going for Common Core. So what I'm saying is there are people that want to write laws, and then there are school boards that approve what goes on. So we should have had this discussion before we get to the point of saying we're already in a pilot mode.
I would actually disagree that we really shouldn't have chosen the curriculum. I don't think any of us on this board have that training where Kathy's hired in this
That's
position.
why we hire people to recommend to us, and we looked at it and made a reasonable judgment. Unfortunately, your state statute tells you that that's what you do. You approve curriculum.
But I can see where it's not going to be costing us, because let's say you have somebody in kindergarten reading at a second grade level, you're just going to be borrowing the stuff from the second grade class. It's just going to be making it more available to them, whether they go on their laptop and pull it off or something, rather than going, oh, now what do I do? Let me go down and talk to them, this and that. It's just going to be more at their fingertips, it sounds like.
and I think in the view of a parent and our clients here, they want each of their students to grow a year's worth of growth in a given year. Whether they're below level, they want them to grow more than a year's worth
Again,
at level or above.
an arbitrary number set by somebody. Nobody can say what an adequate year's growth is for any individual student. Everybody learns at different paces. So again, everybody can say what they want and want what they want. And you can have a parent come in, a father, and say, my second grader should be at a 4th grade reading level. I don't agree with you. That doesn't mean we as a public school have to pay for teaching a student at a 4th grade reading level. So what I'm saying is, again, everything in the school is approved by the school board. That's a state statute, that's the way the state and this country is organized. It's not organized the other way around. You don't have professionals that are in charge. You have elected officials that are in charge. So I would, again, just caution that when you go pilot, it should have come to P&C first. Should have gone over and said, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing this, is why we want to do this. This is what our anticipated cost will be. And that's when school board members make a determination of that, whether you go forward with it or not.
I think we have to consider it once we decide if we're moving forward with something, but I think that we need to trust that Kathy has the knowledge and experience to move forward to
I
design
trust
where our
Kathy,
teachers
I'm
should
not
start.
saying that, I trust Kathy. What I'm saying is you're responsible to the constituents who elect you, of saying, hey, we don't like what's being taught in second grade, if it's a pilot. For example, everyday math, which is what they call it. None of the parents wanted everyday math. The parents are the ones that go to the school board. The school board approves it. It snuck in there through some, and it wasn't anybody on this board that did it, no administrator should have did it, but it snuck in by a previous administrator, should never have been in the school. It's never approved, should never have been out of public funds. So I'm cautioning that, and just realize any pilot that takes place in this school district is approved by the board before the pilot takes place. That's how it is.
The only thing I would add is maybe, next time, let us know a little bit ahead of time, but, looking at this, it sounds good. And unfortunately, reading is one of our weak areas in our district. It's been that way since I've been on the board, unfortunately.
It's always been, we've thrown millions at it.
Yeah, when we can bring it up, I'm in favor of, maybe we should have told a month or so ahead of time.
Now, maybe this is
For
next
next time.
resource, which I don't have an issue with. But we've gone through so many different reading things here that it's the next greatest thing for reading.
I don't hear methodology, I hear resources and
Okay.
things to
That's like
continue to
consolidation.
do what we're doing, just with different.
And I guess,
Makes sense.
and I understand where you're coming from. I get your history part. And I guess that's why I was fine moving ahead and then coming to you to let you know we were looking at this, because it's more of a resource piece. Because even when I was in Kathy's role, I was looking for something that would bring more consistent reading instruction. So that, in other words, it's something to equip the teachers with. We
I don't
weren't
think
necessarily
everybody's looking for that.
right. And the thing was that they had already gone to guided reading when I got here, and you just heard her say we have to stick with guided reading. So it's not like you just said, Dawn. It's not that we're changing methodology or anything. It's more so equipping people with the resources.
Which would
So
have been a really easy discussion.
Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from. I'm sorry if I didn't foreshadow that enough for you. But I guess I didn't, because there wasn't an instructional shift, that's why I didn't foreshadow more than what I did. Because I know, well, even when we did science 5-6 years ago, and it did more hands-on stuff, I had to get permission to pilot. I remember that clearly in my head.
And what this
So-
now means for is with this Common Core now being magically consumed by everybody with, anybody can approve it apparently at the state level. EPI is laying their hands off and say, oh, it wasn't really us, the state approved it. No, they're not the state. School boards have drawn into it. No, but nobody is. The problem's going to be is there's going to be things that arise at Common Core, which we're not going to like. And we're relying on you to bring it back to us and say, this is something that is out of the norm for what we normally do in this district.
When will you get feedback on this, then, to us?
Well,
After one semester, or?
right, the teachers I have grade level meetings set in November to come back around this issue, as well as the teachers who will be piloting will get monthly drop-ins by the.
So probably January, so.
That's good for me to learn, because sometimes you do have to go to get approval for pilot materials. I'm not familiar with that from my past history, so I appreciate that. Different school boards want to handle things different ways. All right, any other good questions? They're all good.
It's really your question.
Yeah. Now I want to transition to the next topic, if that's all right? Is that all right? And talk about, it says on here, Curr Pathways in STEM program. I labeled it as college and career STEM because that's the terminology that the state is using. And just thinking about what are next steps in those areas, because there are some pieces that we have to ensure that we have in place as a public school. So currently, just to make sure everybody is on the same page as far as what we offer, as well as myself. In 7th grade, we have career pathways. Within the career pathways that all students get, there's some financial pieces that we have to have in place. And then all of the students in 7th grade get the design and modeling STEM component as 1/4 of their science in 7th grade. So the 7th grade science is sort of compacted into 3/4, and then the 4th quarter, or one of the quarters, is the STEM piece, which is pretty unique, and I think that's a really positive. And then in 8th grade, some of the students continue because they're not able to get through all the career pathways pieces, so they could continue working on that if they choose. And then the students get 3/4 of science again, 1/4 of STEM for all students, and that's energy and the environment. And then as an elective right now, we also have the robotics, which some students take, and just to keep you updated and informed, medical detectives, which is a sort of a forensic science kind of piece, is a course that Kevin Brozick took last week. And so we're looking at what do we need for that, and whether or not he would like to kind of try out those pieces, or how does that fit into our long-range plan here. And then under the specific category of college and career planning for our students, there are career lessons that the counselors give, and then in the middle school, they do more inventories and pieces like that. Okay? Any questions on that?
Yeah, a lot of questions on this.
Oh, good.
2 years ago, the subcommittee review on it. So is this more being did? Because I'm not aware of the current status of career pathways, all that in the middle school.
We changed the title.
Okay, so it's no longer the Eve, this is the morph of it, is what we're saying? Now we're merging in our original anticipation out of that discussion group, having a career as a goal in there, because it's not current. So you're saying this is new? Okay.
What do you mean, this isn't new?
This is last year, this
Okay,
is
well,
what happened.
It's completely different than what came out of that group,
Right.
right? So what I'm saying is this Eve morph, so career pathways is no longer the segments in Eve?
It's a combination, I think I can answer that. It's a combination of the 16 career clusters and those modules fitting together.
Okay, so this is more.
Mhm.
Okay, this currently.
But it's not the case that that's something we
Right.
looked at 2
Well,
years
there's
ago.
never anything done on the board level. I mean, it wasn't approved. We finished it up, brought it back to the board, just as already informational. There's nothing done because we were waiting to see what was going to transform in the state level and everything. So this would be new compared to last year.
Something great last year, with that, right?
Right,
Right.
this is what.
Is that granddaughter,
Right.
oh, she missed part of here, but that's what, I know she was doing that.
I mean, Holly Curr was the teacher, and she was working on this, of revamping this.
She had
last
updated some
summer.
modules based on that subcommittee study.
Yeah, because she.
Yeah, but it still would have been some modules. I don't believe we ever approved modifying anything at the E level. Because we were talking about spending a few thousands to update E when we said we're not
Right.
interested in it.
Correct.
And that's when we started the ad hoc group to go through and that type of thing,
Right.
which came back with a recommendation, and that's where it was done, right there. We hadn't done anything since.
She was gonna do some Google and that, and do her own, she did.
My understanding was we weren't, the next piece was like an 8th grade piece, and that's what we
I
had.
mean, the next one's to morph it into it. She was working on it, we've never seen anything, never.
I thought she came back with some 7th grade stuff. She did.
Yeah.
Veterinary science, for example, veterinary science was a Moodle type unit that she did, and she integrated it into 7th grade.
Okay, so can we get more info? How they work into the career pathways? Because the STEM was in the math area, or the science.
Science, right.
Right? So you're saying you're adding design modeling to that, but other than that,
No, it's already there.
well, I mean, because you're already doing well,
Yeah, that STEM piece, we got a grant.
4 years ago. I want to say the windmill was been one of that.
It was, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm kind of curious as to the other ones, what the end result of that was.
You're saying what is the college, what is the career pathways, what does that all entail?
Yeah, give me something
Okay.
about that, so I
Okay.
can read up on it.
I'd like to see that too.
Yeah, we had
You weren't on the board when we talked about
We had like a
that.
year-long ad hoc with committee members, or board members,
Yeah, I think it was Paul and you.
community, Darlene, Holly, bunch of people.
Well,
Yeah,
then
you
you're
were
gonna be
getting
excited
involved
about my
in some
next
switches
slide.
there.
Good, so then, next thing's obviously the continuation of that.
The next steps of that, so let's talk about that.
It's good getting involved in some electronic and switching it out.
Oh, we talked a lot about programming, of course.
Yes.
That's why I'm curious.
We did.
So this year, we're gonna look further at the next steps of that, because there are some career awareness pieces, increasing that career pieces in K-8, specifically a piece that we don't have yet, which is career planning, where in many school districts, you would, parent, counselor, and student would sit down several times and talk about starting in, I mean, it can be determined by the district, but at least one time in our sequence of K-8 year, we should be having career counseling appointments with parents and students and a teacher, it could be, or a counselor, to talk about what are your interests, what are your talents, as far as planning, what does college cost, all of those kind of pieces, to at least offer that at least one time. Some people offer it several times within a sequence, if they're K-12 or K-8. So, as we look at this year, that's one piece we want to look at, and then looking at, once again, looking at our options.
Can we talk about that while you're on that one? I don't want to
Sure,
interrupt you, but.
sure.
Okay, so I assume you're looking at middle school, having a kindergarten talk about that.
Right,
So foolish.
right. Usually fifth through sixth grade, seventh and eighth.
So fifth and sixth graders have no clue what the reality of the world is, what it takes to run things. I mean, it's good to see everybody wants to be a doctor or something at one point, but the reality of the world is the majority of people will never become a doctor. So, and of course, we're looking at so many sports, veterinary, science, whatever.
Right.
So middle school, a little bit, they used to have the fair for the career fair. Are we anticipating doing that? Remember you used to come in, you used to look at everybody
Yeah,
had awards and things?
Yeah, that
You had to
was.
pick something?
I think now we're being more for like inventories or something, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing, is I will say that out of every single board I saw on that, which were great boards, and they did a good job. I don't know of one student that actually did what they said they were going to on those. So the career planning, other than maybe eighth grade, so that you know what you should take as progressive courses in high school, I don't see any purpose in it.
Right, well, remember that career planning isn't to decide what you're gonna do and stick with it. It's to begin to think about, that's what we need to decide. When do we want to start cultivating what you want to do in the future, and as a result, what kind of education you want, or how does this fit into your interests or your hobbies? What courses might you take in the middle school, if you're, you know, all of that. So, I mean, I look at my own son, we had career counseling, 5th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, because that was his cycle. And all of the times we went for that, never chose any of those career paths. But we did learn about planning further for his education, and he at least started thinking about what courses he should or shouldn't take. What did he not try that maybe he should try before he gets to when it's too late? And as a result of that, you know, some of his choices came in. So it's not so much pinpointing something down hard and fast, because even most seniors in high school don't necessarily know what they're going to school for, but what are the pieces that we should consider for the different kinds of.
So I understand, it's just that everybody's so busy right now, adding more of something that does nothing. There's extremely little, I'd rather not do more of busy work. Teachers and staff are already inundated with things, educator practice, everything else.
Right.
So I'd rather see it up at a higher grade if at all.
And it might be something, I mean, maybe it's something that's offered and for people who are interested in. I mean, there's all different ways that districts are doing it.
Yeah, I'd rather see and discuss this in that ad hoc group was more ultimately these students can actually see manufacturing environments. I'll lay odds that the majority of these students here don't know that the United States manufactures anything, nor what can people do inside of an industrial location as far as quality control or anything else. I don't think the majority know any of that. And unfortunately, I think the people in house, we're very good at the kind of the big picture, but a lot of people here, unless they're married to somebody in that department, may not know some of those things either, so it's hard to expound upon them to the students.
And even what are all the careers out there that kids could even consider?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's,
a lot of our stuff is more hands-on, show and tell. Here, let's go there today. Get some safety glasses and go down to micro, watch us when using machine center. They'll say, wow, that's actually done here. They make tractors in our little bird. So that was a lot of that. That's why I like to read a lot more.
and then looking at our options, seeing can we add either more career components, and talking to some of the staff at Fox River, for example. Rachel Bergman talked about how she could enhance what she's doing in the art area with some real career-specific pieces, either in public relations or, different design areas that could even help the school district as a whole. So, there's a lot of exciting things. So, what we are going to do this year is we're going to have a college and career group that will meet. We've limited the amount of people that will be on that just because it will be during the school day, and we'll begin to process some of those pieces, and that might be something that we want to have a board member sit on, or perhaps not. You can talk about that. And then the other piece that's in this full college and career 2017 thing, and you might be hearing about that, Dan, at the high school there, is students can receive high school credit for middle school courses that are at the same caliber as high school classes. But that would be Waterford Union High School creating a policy about, are they going to accept those or not accept those, and then we would when they're in the process of doing that or looking at that, and then just to keep you on the awareness of that. And so putting that as a partnership, then we would agree to these parameters, having to make sure that we have a high school certified staff. So like if there was a math course, it'd have to be a 7-12 person teaching the class, the curriculum would have to be the same, assessments, those kinds of pieces. But that's a new piece that we've got us about. So pros and cons of that, lots of pros and cons of that.
Okay, so group, you're going to get together and talk about career injection of information into the middle school.
Yes.
Can we narrowly focus what this group is going to do, and therefore when it's complete, we're done? We don't want to have this all-encompassing thing where these grandiose ideas come up and are implemented, and the board goes, what are we doing?
Well, we should first look at, there's several tools that we'll need to review and use that came out with standards for the different areas. And we'll have to study those first, and then we will have to set some realistic expectations of what we would like to bring forward. And I would think that as we're working through that, I would keep you updated on where we're at, and you can put some input into that.
And the other thing is just because something comes out does not mean it's not required to go by. For example, we are not required currently to go by Common Core. We're not required currently to continue to educator effectiveness, all we are. So just because DPI has another person writing another thesis on, wouldn't it be great to do this in schools? The teachers in the district are already inundated with items. So if it has really impacted students, we want to know it. If not, the tertiary items not necessarily.
Right, but
I think you can ask both the district,
Yeah,
both will help us keep a pulse on it.
okay. A small little piece regarding fine arts technology, just a small little piece here. Just that to keep you in the loop and aware that we are looking at, for example, the computers that are in Deanna Kulu's room that have the software on it for the students to write and compose and those kinds of things. And the computers are at their max. We put in as much memory. I'm not the expert on the technology pieces, but the computers, according to Canon, are maxed out. And so we have to look at those pieces and what we can creatively do and Currently, those are Mac computers, and so they're looking at what are all the viable software pieces that would be similar, and what can we look at. So that'll be a piece when we talk about technology too, but I just want to put a little thought in there. And does the band department also have that ability